the main character, led a highly skilled team of awakened individuals known as the Divine Core. In this world, the presence of magic led to the emergence of demons and their lairs. In response to the emergence of demons, individuals with unique abilities, such as Yi, began to awaken. In the organization, his team stood as the most formidable, embarking on a crucial mission to vanquish the Demon King. A formidable adversary was a triple S-class demon who wielded the power of 5 elements. The gods, who stood as the highest authorities, issued instructions to, and the other awakened warriors. Upon entering the cave, raises his voice to its highest pitch, signaling to his squad members that the mission is, due to the exceptional skills of his team, they were about to embark on their 100th challenge against a high-level demonic cave. Within his team were Han and, due to the anticipated difficulty of the mission, it was categorized as an L-class purge operation, the highest ranking level possible. She felt a surge of excitement about the upcoming mission. They had been promised a vacation as a reward for successfully clearing the Demon Cave and defeating the Demon King. The team, moving in flawless harmony, directed their powers toward the oncoming demons, with the intent to eradicate them completely. He took charge of the assault, effortlessly slicing through the demons with swift and precise movements. All members of the Divine Core, including Yi and even the last individual among them, held the prestigious status of L-rank warriors, making this achievement possible. In just a few minutes of expertly coordinated effort, the team successfully clears the cave and defeats the Demon King. The team members were filled with excitement as they discussed how effortlessly they had managed to clear the cave. Despite the prospects, harbored doubts regarding the entire venture. The mission's L-rank designation made him feel it was far too simple, found himself in agreement with its words. According to the information he had received, the Demon King possessed unique characteristics, wielding the power of 5 elements along with a secretive ability. As he pondered over the possible issues, embraced him from behind. She inquired if he planned to celebrate their completed mission by treating them to a feast. Feeling overwhelmed with his constant presence, he decided to distance himself by moving her aside. He then informed her and the rest of the team that they would be dining at their regular place. Meanwhile, Han found it hard to comprehend why their captain would pass up such a perfect opportunity to enjoy some time with Ling Yue. At that moment, they realized that the final member of their group was missing. During the altercation, he neither offered assistance nor was he present. The team approached the situation with a casual attitude, confident in their ability to handle it as they had successfully completed the mission before. As if conjured by mere mention, the figure emerged stealthily from behind, bringing with him an unforeseen turn of events. With audacity, he lifted his hand high, announcing the commencement of the purge operation. Out of nowhere, a projectile struck Han in the head, causing his immediate demise. The rest of the team is seized by shock as they witness Han's lifeless body collapse to the ground. A significant portion of his head was missing, and his blood poured across the floor. The team remained in disbelief, as the traitor disclosed that he had been tasked with the purge mission by none other than God. He realized he was unable to move, as the traitor explained that for the past month, Yi and the others had been consuming breakfasts mixed with a paralytic powder. The traitor used his sacred ability known as Forbidden Vines to ensnare the remainder of the team. The restriction on their movement allowed the traitor to freely elaborate on the situation, revealing that his mission involved eliminating the team. To achieve this, he had to carefully plan and prepare. As he continued to explain with an air of arrogance, Yi and the others questioned him about the reasons behind his betrayal. The traitor responded, explaining that it was the divine will to eliminate the L-class warriors. The traitor increased the pressure on and the others, causing them to cry out in agony. As they coughed up blood, consciousness gradually slipped away, their mind consumed by a relentless question directed at their treacherous teammate. Why had he betrayed them? Points out to the man that the Divine Core had never committed any actions severe enough to warrant such a dire consequence. After diligently adhering to every rule set before them, is left questioning the reason behind their demise. The traitor exudes arrogance as they declare that the god has no need for justification in deciding to end their lives. The traitor approached, ensnaring him with vines that constricted his throat. With a swift and brutal movement, he drove his fist into his chest. Struggled to move past the betrayal, as he had once regarded the traitor as a member of his own family. For a decade now, the team had remained a closely knit group, their bond so strong that they seemed virtually inseparable. The traitor chuckled at its naivety. He revealed that he never considered as family, confessing that from the moment he joined the Divine Corps, he had been executing a mission on behalf of the gods. Essentially, Yi and his group functioned merely as tools manipulated by the deities. The traitor became part of the group to observe their dynamics, skillfully integrating himself into their activities. Yi and the team, having exhausted every bit of energy they possessed, collapsed onto the ground. The traitor stood with pride over the pool of blood and ended Yi's life with a final shot to the head. On May 22nd, in the year 2125, Yi and his team of elite L-class warriors met their demise. The traitor, readying himself for a much-needed vacation, stepped away, leaving behind the bodies sprawled across the ground. So awareness began to drift into the depths of an abyss, when unexpectedly a voice reached out, proposing a bargain. Upon finding himself bound in chains within an unfamiliar setting, is taken aback by the startling sight. A man in a suit stood ominously before him, exuding an unsettling presence enveloped in a shadowy aura. Examined the figure more closely, and it dawned on him that the individual before him was none other than the Demon King. With a playful glint in his eye, taunted by pointing out that a high-ranking Demon King like him wouldn't succumb so effortlessly. It seemed that they found themselves within his sole domain, where the whole kingdom represented his life force. Growing weary of the Demon King's endless chatter, proposed they focus on the task at hand. Clearly upset by recent events, listened as the Demon King offered a proposition. Disclosed that his secret ability was known as life regression. He informed of his ability to transport him back in time, offering him an opportunity to alter the course of events. The man inquired whether was interested, and with a swift recollection of how his team met their demise because of the traitor, readily accepted the Demon King's offer without a moment's hesitation. Fueled by a searing rage, he vowed to destroy the traitor and obliterate the entire League of Gods, committing to follow the instructions given to him. The Demon King felt a sense of satisfaction with his response. Alongside offering his assistance, the Demon King decided to bestow an additional gift upon the Heart of. Inquired about the Demon King's motivations for forming an agreement with him. However, the Demon King disregarded the question and soon after was sent away. As soon as he opened his eyes, the young man realized he was in the classroom, where his teacher, was vociferously reprimanding him. Found himself transported 2 decades into the past, arriving in the year 2105. 2 decades earlier, found himself in the middle school division of the nation's awakened academy. He was taken aback to realize he had genuinely returned to the past, arriving at a time before his awakening had occurred. The teacher reprimanded for dozing off during the lesson, particularly emphasizing the significance of this class preceding his awakening ceremony. In an effort to discipline him, the teacher instructed the student to take his place at the back of the classroom. Still reeling from the surprise of being reborn with powers, he made his way to the back of the classroom at a slow pace. He gazed at his classmates, people he hadn't encountered in almost 2 decades. The instructor carried on with the lesson, informing the students about the 5 elemental powers that existed in their world. The 5 elemental forces consist of lightning, flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar. It seemed that each individual was capable of holding only a single element within themselves. The teacher decided to illustrate her point by using herself as an example. She explained to the students that she was unique in possessing the rarest cloud element. The narrator explained that the elements are classified into different categories based on their interaction with the body. The 3 groups were classified as combat, support, and special. In her explanation, she informed the students that every team was made up of the 5 elements, each serving a unique role. The school's guild teamed this perfectly, composed of a remarkable mage, a warrior adept at navigating the clouds, a bard with explosive talents, and an assassin who wielded the power of lightning. The teacher praised the students, acknowledging them as unique individuals amidst countless others, and emphasized that the Day of Awakening was the most significant moment in their lives. It seemed that there were almost 100 identified awakened professions. These professions were organized in a hierarchy, starting from the lowest tier known as Dust and ascending to the highest tier called Celestial. Between the realms of Dust and Celestial, there lie the ranks of Ember and the Abyss. The students were given only a single opportunity for an awakening, adding an element of intrigue to the situation. She informs the students that the status they awaken with will shape the course of their lives. Once the class concludes, the students exit to get ready for the awakening. He encountered a classmate he often referred to as Four Eyes due to the glasses he wore. In the scene, Four Eyes found himself the target of relentless bullying at the hands of the obnoxious Sheng. Held the esteemed title of an E-rank stellar assassin, a status that elevated him to a position of admiration among his fellow assassins. Remained unsurprised by the scene, recalling vividly how, even in his previous life, constantly bullied others and frequently found himself embroiled in fights. As and Stress Four Eyes were about to continue their interaction, the teacher suddenly arrived at the scene. Infirmly, she reminded that they were within the confines of a school, a place where his actions of bullying and stealing were not acceptable. With an air of arrogance, attempted to twist the story by informing the teacher that it was Four Eyes who had collided with him. He insisted that he was merely collecting his money as a form of reparation for the situation. He confidently informs that her attractiveness is the only reason she still has her job. Otherwise, he would have ensured her dismissal. Having reached his limit, he signaled to his, and together they got ready to depart. As he moved forward, he noticed standing in his path. Without a second thought or any concern for the unfortunate boy, he pushed him aside. Refrains from acting impulsively, and instead observes the teacher as they attend to Four Eyes. Appeared to be a strict individual on the surface, yet she had a reputation as a caring teacher who genuinely looked out for her students. Reflected on his past life, recalling how had lent him a hand once he had awakened. At that moment, received news that it was her class's turn to enter the awakening chamber. In a manner akin to a caring mother, advises her students to remain composed during the awakening process to prevent any harm. In this world, two distinct methods existed for awakening one's potential. Had awakened through a natural method, which was why he carried himself with the pride of a duck. The awakening process is triggered automatically during moments of intense emotion. In the world of awakening, there exists an artificial method where individuals possessing potential are ushered into the awakening chamber. Several knowledgeable scientists had collaborated to create the chamber, a space where emotions and adrenaline were intensely stimulated. The stimulation triggered a dormant awakening within the potential candidates, causing it to activate. Due to its unique occurrence, it is regarded as the sole opportunity for someone to change their life direction. Before stepped into the awakening chamber, several of his classmates had already gone in and emerged with impressive professions. Upon awakening, one found themselves bestowed with the blue-tier profession, known as the Ember class. When it was Finally's turn, the teacher instructed him to concentrate as he entered the chamber. Heeded his teacher's guidance and made his way into the chamber. In a previous life, had discovered himself as an E-rank nuclear warrior. His initial awakening had resulted in relentless bullying from his peers. However, it was only after he attained the prestigious S rank that he experienced the emergence of the rarest kind of power. As he stepped into the chamber, he braced himself for the usual disappointment of receiving a worthless profession. He was taken aback when the system presented an unexpected error message. The chamber initiated its activation sequence, unexpectedly identifying 5 elements where typically only one was present. He sensed a fiery heat building within him as the system presented the message of infinite awakening. The system of the opportunity to select his first class from any of the 5 elemental categories. Discovers that once he has fully developed his initial class, he has the opportunity to enhance the other class. Experienced a jolt of surprise upon the realization that he had been bestowed with the power of elemental accumulation. In the future, it seemed he would have the option to select different new classes. He possessed the capability to attain ranks from dust all the way to celestial, all while preserving the inherent qualities of each rank. He had an opportunity to access the hidden rank, which was positioned above the celestial rank. He suddenly realizes that his newfound abilities are a result of the gift bestowed upon him by the Demon King. The power of infinite awakenings was bestowed upon him, a phenomenon previously unknown to anyone. Upon selecting his initial class, he learns from the system that every other elemental bar will be erased. After a period of careful deliberation, finally made his decision and selected his class. Stepping outside alongside the teacher, he felt a surge of excitement at the prospect of discovering which class he had awakened to. Gently broke the disappointing news too, explaining that he had awakened with the nuclear warrior ability, considered the lowest quality within the green class. Was taken by surprise, yet her skill and kindness shone through as she offered words of encouragement too. She assured him that even the green class had produced remarkable individuals, hoping to inspire him. She encouraged to persevere, but modestly replied that her reassurance was unnecessary. Overheard the conversation between the two, and as anticipated, he couldn't resist getting involved. The individual harshly criticized, conveying that the teacher was merely offering him illusions of hope. The individual mentioned that the truth diverged from the lessons the teacher was attempting to convey. Made it clear to that being in the dust class signified his position at the very bottom of the hierarchy. Exuding his usual arrogance, conveyed to that the deities favored the powerful, leaving the feeble to be crushed underfoot. The mere mention of the gods instantly provoked a strong reaction in. Despite incessant ramblings, he manages to stay composed. The individual pointed out that he would need to begin occupying a seat in the back row during classes, as this was simply the way society operated. The celestial ranks were positioned at the forefront, with the abyss rank sitting just behind them. Next came the ember rank, and finally, the dust rank settled at the very back. Warriors of the dust rank were deemed worthless and were only able to engage in dealings with other ranks as lowly as their own. Expressed the futility of attempting to alter his destiny through hard work, deeming such efforts a mere squander of time. Edged nearer to, intending to taunt her, but had finally reached the end of his patience. Taking hold of the coffee cup in his grasp, he deliberately tipped it, causing the hot liquid to cascade over his own face. Stood frozen in disbelief, struggling to accept the reality of the situation. Anger bubbling within him, he demanded to know his intentions. Unfazed, retorted that his voice was nothing more than irritating noise to his ears. His behavior and remarks were irritating enough to provoke, leading him to resolve that needed to learn a lesson. As the punch was directed at, attempted to intervene, yet his efforts came too late. Had already made preparations without his knowledge. Just before the attack could land, he swiftly summoned a sword made of light and used it to fend off his assault. Without hesitation, he continued his swift movements, deflecting the attack and sending hurtling through the air, leaving onlookers in disbelief. As collided with the ground, it became evident from his relaxed stance that he had exerted minimal effort and caused little harm. Blood trickled from his mouth as he struggled to comprehend the harsh reality of his situation. The onlooking students were left in disbelief at the spectacle that had unfolded before their eyes. Deliberately selected the warrior class, as he was already accustomed to it. In a previous existence, this classroom had been his, and he was already familiar with all the details related to it. Found his footing once more, and with a touch of arrogance, insinuated that success was merely a stroke of luck. The character elaborates on his status as an abyss rank, emphasizing the stark contrast between himself and individuals he considers inferior, like. Possessing a sharp perceptiveness, realized that actions against were not merely a stroke of luck. The realization dawned on her that had just employed a high-level movement technique, one that was unique to the warrior class. Understands that the parry skill enables the user to cancel an incoming attack and redirect the entire force back to the attacker. Could hardly believe her eyes as she watched effortlessly execute a skill that her own master had struggled to master, even after a decade of dedicated practice. Found himself increasingly bewildered by the realization that, despite having only recently awakened, already possessed an impressive level of combat experience. Found himself deep in contemplation when suddenly brandished a short sword, aiming to bring to his knees. His temper flared as he resolved to humiliate in front of the entire crowd. Remained stationary, exuding the calm confidence of a hero, as he disclosed that his choice of the dust class had been deliberate. He was confident that in the near future, everyone who was currently critical would eventually recognize the impressive qualities of the dust class. By then, the opportunity would have already slipped away. The students were buzzing with excitement as the pair faced off, each adopting a stance ready for combat. It was against the rule to use any special abilities for fighting within the school premises. His father held a significant position as an official, while his uncle had the prestigious role of the school's dean. Lacking a distinguished family background would risk everything in a confrontation with. Four Eyes is worried that if he rises to the provocation and engages in a fight with, he might face expulsion. Upon her entry, she instructed the two to pause their confrontation, but was already seething with anger. He sought revenge for the embarrassment he suffered in front of the entire school. conveyed a menacing warning too, stating that even if were to kneel and plead for mercy, it wouldn't save him from a beating. In his eyes, he stood at the very peak of talent, whereas amounted to nothing more than a failure. The teacher was also aware that was correct, as the disparity in characteristics between the two students was significant. Known for his prowess as an abyss-rank warrior, experienced a remarkable enhancement of 200% across all his attributes. Abyss ranks experience a significant boost because, upon awakening, their attributes are twice as powerful as those of a dust rank. Among the spectators, not one, including the bespectacled individual known as Four Eyes, held any faith in his abilities. They all anticipated that he would be overpowered by. Four Eyes found utterly repulsive. However, he managed to survive by pretending to be foolish and aligning with those in power, all to steer clear of any trouble. He was convinced that the only way to endure was to steer clear of, as a direct confrontation would inevitably result in an undesirable outcome. After carefully assessing his opponent, charges forward with determination. The teacher's voice rose with concern, as she urgently warned to be cautious. She understood that attempting this tactic could fail, because executing the parry maneuver demanded a significant amount of her stamina. Its rapid approach towards rendered any attempt at a parry futile. Himself felt assured of his superior position over. Despite the looming challenges, Yi's expression remained unchanged, as if he believed no significant troubles were approaching him. He remained unfazed by the impending attack, confident in the hidden strategy he had yet to reveal. As closes in on him, he triggers the flash blink ability. The technique operated with the speed of a flash, enabling its user to effortlessly move through any barriers ahead. In the span of a heartbeat, Yi had already struck in a critical area, catching him completely off guard. As he struggled to comprehend how Yi had managed to get behind him, a painful cough forced blood from his mouth. In a wave of frustration and humiliation, he pounded the ground, leaving the students around him utterly stunned and speechless. None of the onlookers managed to see the actions took against. The scene unfolded with unexpectedly collapsing to the ground, leaving both the students and the teacher bewildered, unable to comprehend the sudden incident. Despite the commotion, the class president, Chi Yin, managed to witness actions toward. Chi Yin comes to the understanding that has achieved the pinnacle of proficiency in a fundamental warrior technique, which he skillfully employed during his battle with. The students were all puzzled, trying to figure out what was troubling. Upon glancing at the status screen, observes that one of his attributes has risen as a result of his victory over an adversary. Despite the awarded points being presented to him, he found them underwhelming and insufficient. Understanding that vanquishing demons was the sole path to achieving higher scores, he resolved to embark on this endeavor at the earliest opportunity. Despite being on the floor in a state of struggle, refused to surrender. He implored to stay, insisting their confrontation was far from over. With a swift motion, he seized his knife and attempted to approach from behind. However, just as he was about to close in, a voice rang out, commanding them to cease their confrontation. The individual revealed himself as the school dean, who was also his uncle. Ridiculed, pointing out that he had already embarrassed himself. He then addressed the gathered students, instructing them to return home and get some rest. Upon hearing the word home, suddenly realizes that he has a place he can call his own. In his new life, he found no memory of these events, as he had only just been reborn and his parents had already passed away in his previous existence. The memory of a tragic event from the day of his awakening suddenly floods his mind. With a surge of urgency, he bolts away before the dean can even begin to speak to him. The dean hesitated, momentarily lost for words before finally addressing. He instructed her to manage the behavior of her student. He assured that he would review the situation and expressed gratitude for his attentiveness. Later, trailed behind his uncle as they made their way to the office, hoping to explain the situation and defend his actions. The man insisted that success was merely a stroke of luck. However, his uncle erupted in anger, reminding him of how had completely disgraced him. In the distance, observed as executed the flash blink maneuver against. In that brief moment, conveyed to that Yi had identified his most vulnerable spot and targeted it, leaving unable to defend himself. The dean was frustrated because, despite his vast experience, he couldn't perform the flash skill with the same level of expertise. The dean likens fight against Yi to a professional gamer effortlessly playing with a beginner. Conveyed to his nephew that, based on his observations, Yi was far from being an ordinary child. He hurried along, his mind occupied with thoughts of how crucial it was for him to reach the house. He quickly arrived at the apartment building, his mind replaying the events of his past life. He was determined to prevent this from occurring again, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. Upon entering the house, Yi noticed his father absorbed in a television program while his mother herself with washing the dishes. As Yi stepped into the house, an expression of anger marked his features. Meanwhile, his father couldn't hide his surprise at Yi's early return from class. Chooses to disregard his father's presence, directing all his attention toward his mother instead. Tears welled up in his eyes as he expressed his immense relief and happiness that his mother was safe and well. His mother was unable to speak, and she used sign language to communicate with him. His mother proudly announced to him that she had prepared his favorite dish, the hot and sour noodles. However, quickly responded, expressing his disinterest in having noodles that day. He informed her that his craving was for pickled fish. His mother attempted to reason with him, but she ultimately relented upon recognizing the steadfastness of her son's resolve. She consented to retrieve the pickled fish, while Yi considered accompanying her. However, his father intervened, reminding him that his mother was capable of gathering the ingredients on her own. He questioned internally the reasons behind his return without so much as a greeting. Rising from his seat, he meandered over to his liquor stash, curious about Yi's awakening and eager to inquire about it. The father was filled with anticipation, keen to discover the gift his son had awakened with. His father, Ling Sheng, was revealed to be an electric warrior of considerable skill. His strength made him a formidable and potentially perilous individual. Explained to his father that the reason he hadn't awakened that day was due to the process taking an unexpectedly long time. The young man's father questioned the reason behind his early return home, especially since he had not yet awakened. He knew that his friend's son had already awakened, but felt let down by the class the boy had awakened into. Ling Sheng, however, harbored high hopes that his son would awaken with the Abyss rank. Ling Sheng often boasted about his own awakening with the Abyss rank during his youth and took pride in the dedication and effort he invested in raising. Was furious, a menacing aura swirling around him as he demanded his son disclose what he had awakened with. Found himself completely overwhelmed by his father's presence. Despite this, he attempted once more to deceive by claiming that he had not yet experienced an awakening. The man's anger intensified, and in a display of his so-called perfect fatherhood, he shattered the drink bottle over his head. Upon discovering that had awoken with the dust rank, his fury escalated, leading him to shout it even more. Had a reputation for being a man whose violent tendencies were matched only by his inability to manage his emotions. In his previous life, discovering that he had awakened at the dust rank filled him with a mix of rage and humiliation. Choosing a path of aggression, he struck. However, as was her usual habit, his mother intervened. Was helpless due to his frail nature, leaving him with no choice but to stand by as his father subjected his mother to an hour-long beating. The severity of the beating left his mother mentally unstable, as a blow to her head had caused significant trauma. In his previous life, was helpless, tears streaming down his face as he witnessed his mother endure relentless abuse. Upon being given a second chance at life, his ambition became to alter the course of events. Despite not yet possessing the skills required to confront his father, he clearly understands that he will need more time to enhance his abilities. The boy's father possessed greater strength, being a C-rank warrior from the Abyss class. Realized that using the strategies he had employed against at school would be futile. His father possessed a level of skill that was far superior, backed by genuine experience in real combat. Sadly realizes that he still lacks the ability to connect with his father. His father seized him by the hair, lamenting bitterly about how he wished he had never let come into the world. Understood that he was in serious trouble, aware that his father would not release him from this predicament until he achieved a satisfactory outcome. He had returned home earlier than usual with the intention of waiting for him. He was acutely aware of his father's violent nature and was determined to prevent his mother from being present to see the events unravel. Felt a wave of relief wash over him as he successfully guided his mother out of the house. However, his moment of internal celebration was abruptly interrupted when something struck him on the head. The situation quickly deteriorated when realized someone had entered the house. The scene revealed his mother, arriving just as he was desperately trying to shield her from the brutal scene unfolding before her eyes. Her horror was palpable upon discovering her son in such a dire situation. He lay on the ground, defenseless, as relentlessly struck him with impassive brutality. His mother hurried back with all her might, driven by the urgency to feed her hungry son, which explained her swift return home. Seeing his mother back in the house filled with terror, as he worried that history might be on the verge of repeating itself. As anticipated, directs his focus toward the unfortunate woman, prepared to take whatever actions he considers appropriate on her behalf. In a memory from the past, found himself seated inside a prison cell. Had managed to elevate himself from the green tier to the prestigious platinum tier in his former life, becoming the first to achieve such a feat. Due to the remarkable nature of this accomplishment, his cellmate finds himself questioning the reasons behind his arrest and subsequent imprisonment. The facility was no ordinary prison. It was a grim institution reserved for those condemned to death. With a heavy heart, admitted his guilt, confessing that he was deserving of his fate for the unforgivable crime of beating his mother to death. The young man had taken his father's life, driven by the torment his father had inflicted upon his mother. This act of vengeance led to his death sentence. In the current moment, he watched as past events were on the verge of unfolding once more before him. Perpetuates his display of insanity as mother rushes over to tend to her son. Believed he possessed a strength beyond that of a typical individual, for he knew that no ordinary person could have withstood the force of the punch his father delivered. His mother attempts to assist him in standing, while simultaneously protecting him from the wrath of his father. Ling Sheng carried on with his tirade, expressing to his wife how joyful he had been on the day he learned of her pregnancy. The man felt it was the right moment for the family to reclaim their former glory, especially since his two siblings had been unable to have a son. He was convinced that the ancestors had placed their trust in him to bring back the family's honor, especially now that his wife was expecting a child. The man felt a profound sense of revulsion at what unfolded next. His son, in whom he had invested so much hope and expectation, had awakened with the most undesirable class imaginable, the dust rank. Ling Sheng raised his voice at his wife, emphasizing that he was unable to progress in rank due to being stuck with a worthless class. Shifted the blame entirely onto his wife, insisting that awakening with such a dismal class was a result of her genetic inheritance. Overwhelmed with anger, instinctively lifted his hand, intending to strike the woman. However, was determined to prevent this act of violence from occurring. With a swift use of flash blink, he maneuvered through his mother, positioning himself just in time to thwart his father's attack. The force propelled backwards, yet he managed a smile directed at his son, attempting to present a brave front. His mother felt a surge of anxiety, fully aware of the impending events. Stood up, exuding arrogance as he strode toward his son, fully intent on delivering a severe beating. Intended to employ the parry attack against his father. However, before he could activate the skill, his father's punch swiftly connected, shattering sword and striking him directly in the face. Blood spilled everywhere, as came to the bitter realization of just how vast the power gap was between him and his father. Before he has a moment to catch his breath, yet another punch is launched in his direction. His hands manage to intercept the blow, yet the impact continues to radiate through him, unsettling his ribs. Prepared to unleash another formidable attack, determined to demonstrate his dominance over his son. Noticed the incoming punch, yet lacked the ability to either evade or defend against it. As the blow struck him, he merely shielded his head with his hands. Expressed to that his fate was deservedly grim due to awakening with a class deemed useless. Despite the circumstances, remained upright, determined to prevent history from repeating itself. Witnessing's defiance, anger intensified. He taunted the other, questioning whether the recent awakening had given him the illusion of being the genuine article. Seized a chair, poised to hurl it at his son. His mother clutched her son tightly, both of them steeling themselves for the impending impact. At that moment, a commanding voice echoed from outside, insisting that the door be opened. Ling Sheng felt a wave of disappointment wash over him, as an unexpected interruption broke the flow of his activities. Remained unsurprised when he heard the sound of someone knocking from the other side. Ling Sheng exuded an air of bravado as he confidently swung open the door, but his demeanor shifted as soon as he recognized the visitors standing on the threshold. In front of the door stood two intimidating men, questioning about the delay in opening it. The individuals in question were identified as And. Trembling with disbelief, found himself face to face with the two unexpected visitors. His voice quivered as he questioned their presence at the house. Presented a photograph of a wanted criminal known as Snow to Ling Sheng, inquiring whether he had encountered the individual. The office had received a tip that Snow had been spotted near the building, leading the police to carry out a thorough search from house to house in an effort to verify the accuracy of the report. Ling Sheng felt a wave of relief wash over him upon realizing he wasn't the reason for the duo's visit. A smile spread across his face as he informed them that Snow had not crossed his path. Snow's fame was undeniable, with frequent appearances on television, so Ling Sheng confidently promised to report any encounter with the celebrity. At that moment, realizes that appears to be in poor condition. He inquired about the circumstances that led to the incident. Fabricated a story, claiming that his son had been negligent, resulting in a fall during a trip to purchase groceries. He gently tapped on the shoulder, assuring him that there was no need to be concerned about such insignificant issues. Before the man can complete his sentence, interrupts, informing the officers that his father is not telling the truth. Courageously informs the officers that his injuries are the result of his father's attack. 18 minutes prior, had utilized the phone booth located within the apartment complex to contact the police. He informed them of his observation of Snow inside the building. He understood that the police would take any information related to Snow very seriously. Attempted to deflect the situation, insisting to and his partner that his son didn't mean what he said. He falsely claimed that he lacked the ability to even defeat his own son. Before the lie could take root, swiftly interjected with the truth. He revealed to the officers that his father had struck him on the head with a wine bottle and used a stool to hit his arm. He persistently indicates the spots on his body where his father had struck him before. He suggests to the officers that they can inspect his body to confirm the presence of injuries. He proceeded to emphasize their point by reiterating the principles outlined in their rule of law. The man informed the officers that any awakeners unable to manage their aggressive tendencies and who pose a threat to others would be subject to a 15-day detention in the Awakener prison. The police officers were both astonished and impressed by Yi's extensive knowledge. Ling Sheng spun on his heel, casting a glance at his son filled with the utmost disdain. Based on all the information Yi shared with them, concluded that arresting Ling Sheng was his only option. The moment Ling Sheng is restrained by the police, he instinctively reaches for his son. The officers caution him to remain composed, warning that any resistance will lead to the use of force against him. Ling Sheng was forcibly pulled from the house, yet he vowed to punish his son once he returned from prison. He paid no attention to the man and simply shut the door behind him while the police officers led the man away. After ensuring their safety, Yi's mother hurried over to embrace him tightly. Felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him as he realized he had successfully rescued his mother. Yet, he knew he had just 15 days to grow more powerful. With determination, he vowed internally that would never be able to harm his mother again. Before his father was taken away, succeeded in retrieving the key to his father's safe. He was aware that his father had stored something significant inside, which had been pivotal in elevating his father from an E rank to a C rank. Later, approached the safe and used the key he had taken to unlock it. The safe's contents were a mystery that had uncovered after his father's demise in a previous life. Upon opening the safe, he revealed the menacing blade concealed within. He had a strategy in mind. He intended to confront the dangers of the demon caves armed with nothing but his blade. Faced with the reality that only demon caves could enhance his class, realized he had no alternative but to confront the labyrinths. Despite the situation, a challenge presented itself. The demon caves fell under the control of the gods, permitting only guild members to gain access. The locations accessible to, at the moment, were those overseen by the school, along with a secret demon cave he remembered from his previous life. Determined to outpace everyone, quickly navigated his way to the concealed demon cave. In the detention room of the inspectorate, the officers engaged in a discussion about how the report of Snow turned out to be a false alarm. Despite the situation, they felt no anger, as their curiosity for all things Snow-related was ever present. As the officers were deep in conversation, attempted to offer them a bribe in hopes of securing his freedom. Felt a deep sense of disgust towards actions, particularly because was part of the guild. The officers warned him that his situation would deteriorate further if bribery was included among his charges. They advised him to remain where he was for the night, as he would be transferred to the Awakener prison the next morning. The father channeled all his fury toward his son, was well aware that his father would be released in 15 days, so he had already started getting ready to face the demon caves in order to increase his skills. In a realm mirroring their own, demon caves existed, accessible solely through a mysterious door that materialized from nowhere. Upon the discovery of the demon caves, they typically fall under the control of the guilds, as these caves are home to both demonic beasts and valuable demonic ores. The location offered an unparalleled environment for awakeners seeking to enhance their skills. Entering the demon caves was an endeavor fraught with danger, and typically a team was necessary to ensure safety. 5 years after its discovery, Yi was preparing to confront the demon cave. According to the guidelines, an F-rank demon cave necessitated the presence of 3 E-rank warriors, whereas confronting an E-rank demon cave demanded a team of 5, composed of 3 E-rank and 2 D-rank warriors. He felt assured as he prepared to take on the demon cave, certain that it was ranked as an F-rank challenge. The demon caves had a reputation for their peril, yet he found himself with no alternative at that point, and was compelled to venture into the cave alone. He understood the necessity of increasing his strength without delay. With only the weapon he had retrieved from his father's safe, he ventured into the cave inhabited by demons. The landscape stretched out with an expanse of ice and snow, leading to realize he had entered the realm of a creature capable of wielding cloud-based magic. While he wandered through the apparently abandoned territory, he unexpectedly encountered a slumbering ice bear. Before the ice bear lay human skeletons, suggesting that previous adventurers had ventured into the area. As he continued to survey his surroundings, a ferocious forest wolf suddenly emerged from the shadows, nearly catching off guard. Although the wolf was classified as E-rank, it remained more powerful than. Swiftly jumped back to dodge the wolf, yet the creature relentlessly pursued him without pause. With a swift motion, managed to prevent the wolf's teeth from piercing his skin by skillfully using his blade as a barrier. Launched his assault, and with one swift stroke he brought the wolf to the ground. Successfully accomplished the task due to the power of the rank weapon he wielded. Armed with this weapon, he could now bridge the skill difference between himself and the formidable beasts he was preparing to face. This remarkable weapon, called the blade, was crafted from a unique material known as stone. Its extraordinary power enabled it to slice through iron effortlessly. Despite possessing such a mighty weapon, he understood that he would still require a minimum of 4 strikes to defeat the beasts due to their formidable defenses. Lightheartedly reminisces about how he longs for the days when he was an L-rank awakener. Discovered that in order to enhance his skill set to the next level, he must defeat 20 wolves. Fighting in a region dominated by ice, the enhancements would naturally be applied to his cloud element. In addition to these requirements, he needs to advance through 10 enhanced levels to progress from his present E-rank to a D-rank. In a matter of moments, he found himself encircled by a group of wolves, drawn in by the scent of blood. The situation presented itself as an ideal chance, albeit a risky one, for Yi to advance to the next level. The wolves converged on Yi, but he depended on a pair of skills as he faced the pack. With a deft maneuver, he skillfully blended his ability to dodge with his counterattacking talent, effectively bringing down the wolves. The young warrior skillfully navigated through the chaos, expertly avoiding harm while inflicting significant damage on the monstrous creatures surrounding him. With each wolf he defeated from the first pack, he gained 52 experience points, steadily increasing his total. During the battle, he managed to obtain the fangs of wolves. Having dispatched the entire pack, he now faced the challenge of confronting the Wolf King. With remarkable agility and speed, he executed a series of precise slashes across the wolf's body, leaving it no opportunity for recovery. The Wolf King succumbed to its wounds, and Yi gained 56 points for defeating the creature. After vanquishing the Wolf King, he was rewarded with a Snow Wolf Diamond. After successfully defeating the initial group of beasts, he accumulated sufficient experience points to advance to D-rank. Along with the points he acquired, he was awarded 12 attributes, and the system advised him to distribute them according to his preference. After deciding on the distribution of attributes according to his judgment, he quickly realizes that exhaustion has already set in, even though he has only managed to defeat 20 wolves. He found himself unimpressed by the frailty of E-rank bodies. Adding to his growing list of concerns, he realized the necessity of acquiring a dimensional backpack to safely store his treasures and prevent their loss. Acknowledged the challenge of tackling a demonic cave alone, noting its difficulty. As for the snow wolf diamond he acquired, it was a robust gem utilized in crafting unique weaponry materials. Additionally, it held significant value in the marketplace. Understanding that the sole path to gaining entry into a high-level demonic cave involves becoming a member of the Divine Corps, he contemplates his next move. Since the awakening, the guilds have assumed control over the schools, frequently dispatching their representatives to identify and recruit potential warriors for their squads. Every student dreams of graduating with outstanding success to gain entry into a guild. If a student happened to be unfortunate and was removed from their team, it often meant the end of their career. This was the fate of his father, which is why he remained at C rank indefinitely. Observing his predicament, understands that facing the beast solo will demand even greater endurance from him. Suddenly, as if emerging from thin air, another group of wolves materialized before he had a chance to react. He dashed away as quickly as he could, with the wolves in hot pursuit. He guided them into the forest, where he felled several trees to create some room for himself. The commotion drew the attention of the creature dwelling within the forest, known as the cloud python. He found himself confronted not only by the wolves, but also by the unexpected presence of pythons entering the conflict. He decided to put his plan into action to escape the challenging predicament he found himself in. In an attempt to wake a specific creature crucial to his scheme, he triggered a booming explosion. The plan unfolded exactly as he had anticipated, with the slumbering frost bear awakening in a rage from its resting place. In a furious frenzy, the bear, driven by a blinding rage, prepared to lash out at any creature or object that crossed its path. The bear, consumed by fury, unleashed its wrath upon the wolves and pythons, leaving them crushed beneath its immense power. As the bear wreaked havoc, Yi diligently up in its wake, gaining a significant amount of experience points along the way. He persisted with his usual strategies, gaining experience points while also collecting python fangs and wolf fangs. He skillfully exploits the beast's vulnerabilities to his advantage. He understood that they had a tendency to be aggressive, yet they often lacked the intelligence to support their actions. He cleverly uses the bear to fend off the wolves and the pythons, allowing him to preserve his energy. Despite the situation, it remained essential for him to be the one to deliver the final blow to the creatures if he wished to earn the experience points. Following several minutes of intense combat, Yi found himself already weary. He resolved to advance to the subsequent stage of his strategy. As the creatures gathered before him, he struck the icy ground with force, causing it to shatter and defeat the beasts. From the very beginning of the confrontation, he had been meticulously examining the landscape, weighing its advantages and disadvantages. His ingenious strategy annihilated nearly all of the creatures in a single decisive action. Felt drained, yet he understood the necessity of tending to the frost bear and dealing with the lingering wolf pack. The system subsequently bestowed upon him a fresh title. Known as the 1 against 100, his abilities were enhanced by 10% whenever he faced numerous opponents. He remained unconcerned about for the time being. He understood that each cave harbored a final boss, and he anticipated its eventual appearance. Having already stirred up significant turmoil, he pondered the delay in the boss's arrival. Out of nowhere, a chilling frost envelops the area, casting an icy spell over everything in sight. Before he had a chance to respond, the spell struck both him and the creatures standing before him. He soon came to the realization that his earlier assumption had been incorrect. The ultimate adversary had already stirred from its slumber, biding its time for that ideal opportunity when Yi and the other creatures were worn out, to launch its attack. Yi, along with the creatures, found themselves converged in a single location, which complicated their efforts to break free from the enchantment's grasp. He attempted to shift his position, but the enchantment had already struck him. His legs were immobilized by ice, and he understood that the icy bridge was also an element of the boss's cunning trap. The final boss meticulously arranged every detail, preparing to appear and claim all the rewards in a single, decisive moment. He suddenly realizes that the ultimate challenge in the cave is a clever adversary. The ultimate challenge within the cave was the demon monkey, who was accompanied by a group of other apes serving as its protectors. Nearly every inch of Yi's body was encased in ice, immobilizing him, while the demon monkey displayed a sinister grin. The cave was known to be a high-risk area, one that necessitated the presence of numerous E-rank warriors to venture inside. Subscribe for more.